you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm finally going to be sharing my review with you on this palette from Natasha Denona. This is the Sunset palette. I told you guys when I picked this up that I was planning to do a review. I've been really testing it out because the thing that I've noticed most about this palette is that it's very inconsistent. Certain shades perform better than others, so I've been doing a lot of different looks with all the different formulas in this palette so that I could get a good opinion for you guys and share this review today with you. So this is what the inside of the palette looks like. As you can see, there are a lot of different textures in this palette. There are some mattes, we have some satins in here, we also have some just like traditional shimmer shades, and then we have these very foiled glitter shades as well. The eye look that I'm wearing right now, I did complete using only this eyeshadow palette, and I will have the footage of me applying this eyeshadow so you can see how it applies, as well as updates throughout the day today on how it wears so you guys can see the performance as well. First of all, the color scheme in this palette I think is beautiful, and that is definitely what drew me into this palette. I've been wanting to try Natasha Denona eyeshadows for some time just because they get so much hype, and I really wanted to know for myself whether they're worth the price tag, because let's be honest, these are extremely expensive. This palette was, I believe it was $129. I'll put it on the screen here. So it is a very expensive palette. Now you are getting 15 shades in here, so it is a lot of eyeshadow. However, for the price, I mean, that is pretty darn expensive. So as you guys can see, it does get quite messy. These eyeshadows are extremely pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. When you dip your brush, you definitely need to tap off the excess, and when you dip it, you don't want to dip it and swirl it around like you can in some other palettes. You definitely want to be really light-handed with your brush dips and tap off the excess, because they do tend to have a lot of fallout. I will insert swatches of all 15 eyeshadows, so I'll go ahead and insert swatches and tell you guys about each individual shadow. For the names, they have them on these stupid plastic things. I hate when companies do that. I really wish that every company would get smart and just print it on the front. That's what we all want. I don't like having them on the back because then it's hard to, you know, flip back and forth and see what shade is what. And these things make me nervous. I feel like they're always gonna like dip into and like scrape up a product and then just get in the way. So anyway, let's go ahead and go through each row. So I am going to start with the top row here. Okay, so here is the top row. So starting at the top of my hand, that one is called Atmosphere, and that one is definitely a metallic. As you can see, they kick up a lot of excess. So, and that's actually a theme with all of the different formulas in here. They do kick up a lot of excess, but these swatches I did with my finger with no primer underneath, and I did have to kind of blow away the excess powder because you definitely got it got a little chunky on most of these. So that first one is called Atmosphere. Next to that is a matte, and that one is called Cyanide. It's a very dark brownish orange matte shade. Next to that is Ice Gold. That one is a very white, stark white. It does have a little shimmer to it, but it's a very bright white. And then right below that is the shade Mandarin. That's one of my favorite shades in the palette. It's a very unique, kind of an orangey gold shade. It does have quite a bit of glitter in that one. And then at the very bottom there is called Bronze Age, and that one again is one of the foiled kind of glittery shades as well. All right, we're now moving into the middle row. That top shade there, which is a really pretty, almost kind of a reddish brown matte. It's a very unique color. I honestly don't know if I have another shade like that in my collection. That one there is called Volcano. The second one down, that very foiled shadow, that is what I have on my eyelid today, by the way. That one is called Abade. And in the center there, that very light orange, kind of an orange matte. I don't even think it's a brown, it's just straight up orange. That one is called Horizon. And second to the bottom there, the other foiled gold, that's a little bit lighter than the one on top. That one there is called Sundazed. And then the very bottom one is called Terracotta, which is a very reddish brown. So that is that middle row right there. And it is staining my hand here. So for the last row of swatches, I'm gonna go on my wrist just because I don't want the colors to mix together. Alrighty guys, so here is the final row of swatches. So that first shade right there at the top of my wrist, this guy is kind of a peachy color, a peachy pink matte shade. That one is called Bermuda. Next to that is called Morgana. That one is a very unique metallic shade. I don't know how to describe that. It's kind of, you know what it is kind of the like a peachy pink with gold glitter is what it is. So it's very similar to this, but darker, the base of it, and then it's got gold glitter over the top. It's very stunning. It's a very stunning eyeshadow. I like using that one on my lid. I've used it several times, and it's really pretty that way. Next we have this red shade, which is called Panjin. That one, it swatches very patchy. My swatch is really big there because I had to dip my finger like 4 times to get it to not look as patchy, but you can still see on the swatch, even though I did that, you can still see it's much more dark pigmentation down here and a lot lighter there. And when I try to kind of blend it, it just gets more kind of patchy. And then this guy here, that brown is called Igneous, and that one is just a chocolate brown, very standard matte chocolate brown. And then this yellow here is called Soul. This bright yellow matte right here was really what pulled me into this palette. I wanted this palette for that eyeshadow. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I really don't have anything that shade in my collection. And from the swatches and the eye looks that I had seen created with this eyeshadow, it's so yellow and it goes on true to color, and you can really build it up to get a very intense saturated matte yellow, which is really hard to find. So that was one of the most intriguing things about this palette. So let's get into a few of my opinions about the palette now. What I've really noticed so far from using this, and I've used it quite a lot as I mentioned, just trying to get a good idea for how it works, I feel like the matte shades remind me a lot of the Tarte formula. They go on very pigmented. They're a little tricky to blend out because of the pigmentation, but then once you start blending, it's easy to get muddy, which sounds weird. It seems like it should be one or the other, but it goes on so pigmented that it can get a little patchy, but if you blend too much, you overblend and then it gets muddy. So there's a very fine line with blending on these guys. Also, I have noticed the matte shades in particular do tend to fade away as the day goes on, and sometimes I'll go look in the mirror and I have like nothing left in my crease at all. Everything that was in my crease is gone. So, and I usually apply the mattes in my crease. That's what I like to use for blending. So that's something I've noticed about the mattes. The foiled shadows in here are definitely my favorite formula in this palette. The foiled apply gorgeously. They are stunning. They last all day. They definitely do tend to have a lot of fallout, so I do recommend applying them with your finger. You'll see me doing that with these shadows in a minute. I did use my finger to apply the metallic or the foiled shades because you definitely need to do that with them. But they do last all day. They are extremely beautiful, very unique colors. So I really do think that the foiled shades in here are the standout formula. The mattes, I will say one more thing about the mattes. I do find that they do apply and stay nicer on the eyelid. Anywhere where you're not blending them, they apply better. So like I did a look with this yellow the other day on my eyelid. I wish I would have taken some photos for you guys, but I used it on all over my eyelid and it lasted all day. It stayed pigmented because I wasn't really blending. I just packed the shade on and left it. So I feel like the less blending you do with the mattes, the better off you're going to be with those. But really all the formula is kind of like that in this palette. They don't blend very nicely, however, they are super saturated in color and do last if you don't blend. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. As far as the color scheme, I pretty much love almost every single color in here. The only one I think I probably won't see myself using very much is this peachy, this matte peachy color. It's just not a shade that I tend to be drawn to. So I don't see myself using that shade, but pretty much everything else in here is very usable shades. They're very stunning, and a lot of them are very, very unique, especially the foiled shades I feel like are very, very unique, kind of almost like a duochrome foil, very cool colors. So yeah, I feel like I will still get a lot of use out of this palette. You just have to be really careful how you use the formula. So that's something I've noticed a lot, is just the way you apply it makes a big difference in how well it wears for you. So if you end up buying this palette, or if you already have this palette, I definitely recommend playing with it a little bit and figuring out how to use them, because they are a very unique formula and you can't just blend them like crazy like you do with a lot of other shadows, or they do tend to disappear on your eyes. Again, as I mentioned several times, I hate these things. I think that is something I wish companies stopped inserting those. It does come with a pretty large mirror, which is great for traveling, although because of the cost of this palette, I don't see myself taking this on a trip anytime. I just don't like bringing really expensive palettes because I don't want them to get lost or stolen when I travel, but it does have a very secure magnetic closure. It's a very sturdy palette. The outer packaging I think is stunning. It's got this kind of orangey gold tone to it. So as far as packaging, it is definitely sturdy enough that you could travel with it. I just don't tend to want to travel with very expensive items. But overall, I would give this palette like a B+. There's definitely a few issues with it as far as blending goes, but other than that, I think the color scheme is gorgeous. It's a little overpriced, to be honest. It is a little overpriced. I probably won't buy any more Natasha Denona palettes, but I'm really glad that I have at least one for comparison purposes. And of the ones that she has out, this is definitely my cup of tea. So I'm glad that I picked this particular one. I just love this color scheme so much. So yeah, if you guys want to see me applying these shadows and see how they wear throughout the day, then keep on watching. All right, so I am gonna start with this shade Horizon right here. I'm going to be using that as my blending shade. That is one thing I've noticed about this palette is there's not a good transition shade. The transition shades are really deep and really warm. So I have been using other palettes to kind of supplement, but for this video I really want to use only this palette. So I'm going to start with this shade here, and we're going to be working that into and above my crease. As you guys know, I do have a hooded eye, so I like to kind of use my eyeshadows to create some dimension and depth and hide the hood of my eye a little bit. So by the way, these are really pigmented, so a little product goes a long way. So I want to make sure that I kind of blow out this shade a bit. So I kind of concentrate the color on the outer corner. And as the name suggests, there is a lot of very warm tone colors in this palette. So I haven't completely decided what eye look I'm gonna do, but I'm sure it's gonna be very warm. Especially starting with a orange matte like that as my blending shade. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. By the way, I'm using just this is a Morphe crease blender brush. This came in a little set that I got off hautelook, and I got rid of most of the brushes, but I do like this one, so I kept this one. Okay, now I'm gonna take a little bit smaller blending brush. This one is a Sigma brush. It's the E25. And I'm going to be using Cyanide, which is this one right here. It's just a little bit darker, like very warm, kind of brownish orange shade. And I'm going to be taking that just a little bit more precisely onto the outer corner and into the crease. And as you guys can see, these colors are very pigmented. All right, and then I just softly kind of blended that to my lid so that it has a little bit of a gradient effect once I had all the product off the brush, so that I'm gonna go over it with another shade in a second. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side now. Now I'm gonna go back with this clean Morphe brush, and I'm just gonna kind of softly blend a little bit more. It's already extremely warm. That's the thing, every time I use this palette, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to go not as warm this time, but it's almost impossible because everything in this palette is really warm. So I'm gonna take that first shade, that very light orange shade, and I'm gonna run that on my lower lash line, all the way across my lower lash line. And then I'm gonna take the second shade, the little bit darker shade, and just run it on the outer part of my lower lash line. Create a little dimension. I'm just using a little e.l.f. pencil brush here. Now this is where it starts to get a little tricky with creating an eye look. So there is not really a brow bone highlight in here in my opinion. I feel like this white is just way too white and bright to be underneath my eyebrow, and none of the rest of these shades really work for that. So what I'm gonna do is, for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna mix this white and this kind of pinkish shade. It's a little too pink in my opinion to be a brow bone highlight. So I'm gonna mix the two of them and hopefully get something that will work for underneath my brow, because I really wanted to play with only this palette since we're going to be doing a wear test and all of that good stuff. So yeah, that's not my favorite, but we're just gonna go with it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start building up my eyelid. And I think, I hadn't really decided what I was doing yet, but I think I want to play with some of these glittery shades for the purpose of this wear test. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this super foiled gold shade right here, which is called Aubade. So we're gonna use that. And with these foiled shades, it's definitely, from my experience, better to apply them with my finger. I've tried applying them with the brush and they just don't apply the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and just press that using my finger right onto my eyelid. I'm gonna leave the inner corner blank because I'm gonna apply something else there in a second. And because of the hood on my eye, I try to be really careful to just place this on the mobile part of my lid. I don't like any glitter to be above that or it tends to look strange on my eye. So difficult when you have a hooded eye working with foiled shades like this. I'm gonna take my blending brush because I want to gently blend those together, and I'm just gonna take a tiny bit of that first orange, that lighter orange, on my brush to just soften everything up a bit. I like the way it's turning out. I think it looks cool. So next I'm going to do is take this e.l.f. eye definer brush. I love this brush, by the way. It's a really good brush. And I'm going to take the lighter foiled gold shade, which is called Sun Dazed. It's this guy right here on this side, and that's going to go into my inner corner. Now, the reason I'm using a brush for this is because this does tend to have a lot of fallout, and I don't want to get this in my eye. So I'm going to be really careful pressing this in just to my inner corner and down my lower lash line a tiny bit. And you can even get your brush a little wet. That definitely helps with these shadows as well. All right, so that's how the glittery shades kind of apply. I feel like they apply pretty nicely, again, if you use your finger or a wetted brush. So now the last step that I'm gonna do for this eye look is I'm gonna pick a pencil brush again. I'm gonna grab that same e.l.f. pencil brush, and I'm gonna pick up this dark brown matte, which is right down here, and that one is called Ingenious, and I'm going to use that to just create a little bit more depth in the outer V, and I'm going to be very, very precise with this powder. So I like to kind of place it on with this pencil brush, and then I'll use a fluffier brush to softly blend it in. And sometimes I have to go back and forth to build up the depth that I want without getting too harsh with the line. And one thing I've noticed about the matte shadows in this palette is that the less blending you do, the better, because when you blend them, they do tend to disappear pretty quickly. So I try to do as little blending as possible because then you're really losing the color on these. Okay, so that is the eyeshadow look that I am going to be doing. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply the rest of my eye makeup, my liner, mascara, and all of that, as well as the rest of my face, and I will be right back. Okay, you guys, so I went ahead and finished off the eye look. I'll show you guys what I put on real quick. I did use my Mally liner in this shade Amber for my lower lash line because it's such a warm look. I wanted to kind of keep with that warmth, and it is kind of a dark bronzy kind of a brown. So that's what I have smudged on my lower lash line. I just did my winged liner with this Wet n Wild skinny tip eyeliner. For mascara, I applied the Maybelline Big Shot Colossal. And then on my lips today, I have the MAC Toledo lipstick in Oxblood. And I topped that off with my little Hourglass Child Gloss, which I'm trying to use up as part of my makeup use up project. So I popped that just in the center. I'll link my update for that above in case you missed it. But anyway, that's what I finished off my makeup with. So this is the completed eye look. And as I mentioned, I am going to take you guys through my day today to give you updates so you can see how it wears. Just from my experience, it does tend to get a little bit muddy, and sometimes, depending on which shadow from this palette you use, it can kind of disappear. So we're gonna see that so you guys can so you guys can see how that looks by the end of the day. So it is currently 9:30 in the morning. I have a busy day at home today. I'm going to be filming another video after this, and then I do have a lot of cleaning and a lot of cooking, and I'm even planning to paint a dresser today. So we'll see how well this all lasts up through that busy day. So yeah, if you guys want to see, keep on watching. All right, I just wanted to do a quick check, and it's only been a couple hours. It's actually only 11:45, but I just got back from running to the grocery store to pick something up, and the girl at this grocery store said she really liked my eyeshadow. So yeah, there's that. But I feel like so far it's wearing pretty good. Excuse the rest of my makeup. I'm trying a new foundation I'm not loving. But yeah, I feel like it hasn't started fading in the crease yet. That's usually where it starts to fade, but It's looking okay so far, but it's only been like, what, 2 hours, so we'll see. So I wanted to give you guys another quick update. So it is now almost 3 o'clock. Yeah, it's 2:45, and I've been working like a crazy person, cleaning the house. I finished filming, and right now I'm painting a dresser in my garage. So thank you, Lexi, and having a tea party with Lex. Lexi, say hi. So anyways, that's what I've been up to. So I've been running around a lot, and as you can see, the eyeshadow pretty much still looks the same. Now, this is the only thing I noticed with this eyeshadow is right in my crease, because I have pretty hooded eye. Like if I look at you guys straight on, I have this huge amount of skin that just kind of hangs down right there. So where I have that extra skin kind of folding over, it does tend to rub the eyeshadow away a little bit right there. So I do have like a gap kind of happening right there. I don't know how well you guys can see that on camera. I am just filming on my iPhone, so the quality of the picture is not fantastic, but that's the only thing, and it's very subtle, and a lot of eyeshadows do that because of my extra hood in my eye there. So yeah, overall it's lasting pretty good, but I'm gonna do one final check-in probably around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, sometime after dinner. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, so I'm doing my final check-in. I am so sweaty right now. I've been out in my garage slaving away painting that dresser, and I'm like shaking. I'm so tired, but I wanted to take a quick break. It is 6 o'clock right now, and I'm gonna go shower, so I'm gonna be taking this makeup off. So I real quick wanted to show you guys how it held up. So considering I have been like really working hard and literally dripping sweat, I feel like my eye makeup stayed on fairly well. I mean, this was a pretty intense test for this, because it's like 80 degrees outside right now, and I've been painting in my garage all day, and I'm exhausted, but my eye makeup looks pretty good. So yeah, as you guys can see, the glitter has definitely faded slightly. It's not quite as intense as when I first applied it, but other than that, I think it looks pretty good. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video today and this wear test, and yeah, if you have questions, comments, anything like that, leave them below. Otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.